Previously on the Hammer and the Nail.
Yeah, if it's the week that Quinn wins his first game, as I said earlier, I will retire from the league.
Brady looking Fournette's way, and the goal line. Fournette is in for the touchdown. Jacobs slips into the end zone. Touchdown, Las Vegas.
I'm not the Dalai Lama. I'm not a Buddhist. I can't predict these things.
It's Taylor trying to navigate. Just needed a little. That ball may have come out loose.
It's frustrating when you have a chance to win a game and you end up losing.
Didn't start the season strong. A lot of injuries. A lot of who's going to start.
All the greats have had to retire at some point in their careers.
Can't look down on locker room cohesiveness.
Maybe I should, but I'm not going to.
Welcome to the Hammer and the Nail. I'm Yosef Nasser here with my co-host Nick Rogowski. Nick, let's cut to the chase, buddy. You promised, you guaranteed a victory over Quinn. You took a loss. What are the emotions, man? Like, how do you put into words how badly a loss like this feels?
It's not good, especially when Mixon puts up 17 on a Thursday and you're feeling really good about yourself going into the weekend.
And Nixon still on his feet, takes it all the way in.
You almost don't even want to watch football. You want to go shopping with your wife. I was sitting there in a bookstore and, there was a book that said, don't jump. And I glanced at it and, I didn't buy it, but I definitely glanced at it.
Yeah, we're chanting fuck Nick.
Get out. What? You just sat there and said that you were happy for me that I'm hanging by a thread. I'm reading Don't Kill Myself books. You said that the book wasn't yours. Don't worry about the book. It isn't mine. But I glanced at it.
When you were watching that Sunday night game, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce facing the Buccaneers, he had Mike Evans, he had Leonard Fournette. Were you on the edge of your seat watching that Sunday night game?
Honestly, I started off not even watching it. Just because I thought if I watched it, I might have a heart attack. But as it went by and Patty Mahomes threw that first TD to Travis Kelce, I was like, maybe we have something here. But the way that Quinn's team was gelling this week, it just I don't think it was in the cards. I'm not sure what the rest of the season holds for me, but kind of this whole campaign so far has felt like a dark and ominous Neil Diamond kind of song, kind of like a Dracula musical.
It's getting kind of hard to believe things are going to get better. I've been drowning too long to believe that the tide's going to turn.
That's kind of where my team's at so far.
Some other news and notes to get to from the past weekend. Obviously, I took my first loss of the season to Frank.
Yos, how do you feel about your team moving forward after this loss? Are you optimistic? Were you maybe overly optimistic going into this week?
Look, it sucks to have your two best players combined for 6 points, but I don't think that's going to happen very often. I'm encouraged by the fact that Jonathan Taylor's injury doesn't seem to be as bad as it initially sounded when people were saying high ankle sprain.
Definitely want to use as much time as I can in order to, get treatment and get feeling, as well as possible before you try to make any decisions.
The other big storyline from the weekend was all of the injuries. So we talked about Jonathan Taylor. The big one, Javonte Williams, Tony's second-round pick, out for the season with an ACL, LCL tear. That obviously hurts him. It's a devastating loss for him. Anytime you lose your second-round pick, it's worst-case scenario. Is this the final straw for Tony's team? Is this the straw that broke the camel's back for his team?
I think so, yeah. I was never really worried about Tony's team. I don't think you were either. I don't think anybody in the league really was worried about Tony's team. I think there's going to be a lot of trades spurting out of the Team Tico camp. Is the embargo going to break? Who knows? There might be a Treaty of Versailles, in the embargo camp there coming up. But what about Drew's outlook?
Tua was the other injury. But Drew was kind of in that phase of streaming quarterbacks. And, we talked about things from storylines from the league from a negative standpoint with the injuries and both of us losing. Drew beat MB even after getting that 2-point performance from Tua. All of a sudden, Drew gets the win over MB and Blocker gets a win over Semi. Semi put up 131 and Blocker's still able to top him. That sets up a matchup that we'll discuss in our picks later in the show of two of the Titans of the South, both at 4-0, Drew and Blocker. So I think that Drew's outlook is looking very strong. Coming up after this quick message, we're going to bring on Quinn Bonta. How does he feel about his team? We'll be right back after this message.
Yeah, if it's the week that Quinn wins his first game, as I said earlier, I will retire from the league. So I am picking myself here.
That's tough. I'm picking Nick here, but it's on video.
I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by.
I'm Ron Gordon. I'm Ron. ESPN.
I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life.
In hindsight, the espresso might not have been the play.
I look like a girl wearing heels for the first time.
Were you wearing heels for the first time?
All the greats have had to retire at some point in their careers, and quite frankly, maybe I should, but I'm not going to.
Fuck the critics.
Welcome back to the Hammer and the Nail. Yosef Nasser, Nick Rogowski, and we're pleased to be joined by our third guest in the history of the show. He's a man who's been in the Engineering Class Fantasy Football League for 12 going on 13 years. Engineering Class's QB1, a man who said that he would win a championship in 5 years. Said that back in 2012. Who knew he meant light years at the time? It's Quinn Bonta. Quinn, thank you so much for joining us, man. It's a pleasure.
The Quinn Grin.
That's who it is. That's who it is. The Quinn Grin. How you guys doing?
I'm doing okay. Rogo not doing so well, and the reason is because you put him down pretty badly, and I'm just wondering. I mean, this is a guy who lives and dies with his fantasy football team, and he's been dying the past 3 weeks because he's on a 3-game losing streak. Why'd you have to do it, Tim Quinn?
Only the good die young. Sorry, bud.
So Quinn, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Good Luck, Chuck.
Hey, asshole! Got my peanut butter?
No. My name's Charlie. I'm sorry, I was just wondering if I could take you out tonight. How does that sound?
I've had this kind of rain cloud over my team this year, and I had a feeling, I had a small hunch that this week might be the week that you would come up and sneak up. Your team would, each person on your team would have a season high in every category up and down your roster there.
Yeah, Marvin Jones with the 0. Yeah, season high.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty standard for him. Usually he's like -5, but no. Did you have a feeling coming into this week that you might have a chance, or was it kind of just another week you were kind of hoping to get by?
Listen, bud, as I would hope that you have learned this lesson by now. Classic trap game. That fucking shite you were tossing out last episode, talking about why am I even here? The disrespect that I've been shown in this league, just astonishing.
We're going to get to the disrespect in a moment, Quinn, but we have to get to the bottom of what happened on draft day, because we're on the live call. I paused the draft so you can make your picks at the 1-2 turn. And then I think you're good to go. And then at the 3-4 turn, it's like, oh, Quinn's gone. Like, where is he? And then you get auto pick the two guys that nobody wanted, Josh Jacobs and J.K. Dobbins, who combined for like 55 against Nick. Believe it or not. But what exactly happened at the draft, buddy? I mean, I thought we had you in, and then all of a sudden, I'm hearing stories about you running from pub to pub. You're bar hopping at 2:00 in the morning. What's the real story? Let's get to the bottom of this.
I think the only person who can really tell us what happened that night would be you, Yosef. I'm really not sure. I had a timeline. I had a schedule I was sticking to. I knew when to be where I needed to be at. And the next thing I know, I'm getting phone calls saying the draft is going on now. Your pick is up. Thank God I have allies on the good side of the embargo. But I really just think that, moving divisions, changing the draft times all willy-nilly after the whole point had been made by said allies that we don't change draft times for anybody. So I knew when to expect to be ready for the draft. You're lucky I showed up alive. I had my helmet on. I was biking across Dublin, not from a pub, from a nice dinner party where I was doing the dishes like a good guest and a good fantasy manager would.
I will mention in my defense, 12 other members of the league didn't have any issues showing up to the draft.
The kicker was apparently my roommate's, who's like the landlord of my gaff's place, his like cousin or something was staying in the room down the hall. And I'm screaming and yelling at you guys because that was my tactic, was to come in underprepared but overconfident. But it got too rushed. I had to bike halfway across fucking Dublin City Center to come jump on the call with you guys. So I'm screaming and yelling. The fucking dude behind me is banging on the wall. And then next thing I know, I get into the room and calm down a bit. So it was just a all-around shit show in my fucking apartment that evening.
See, there you go, Yost. Maybe we had Quinn all wrong. Maybe he was biking across Dublin like Lance Armstrong across cobblestone streets from fucking.
Yeah, I might as well have lost a fucking nut on that night. My team sucks. At least I will say one thing: they are loyal. When I get injured, they get injured.
Quinn, right now your team doesn't suck. Right now, your team is one of the best teams in the league after last week's performance, and you're welcome.
Second most points on the board after my rival blocker, my ex-rival blocker. Can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome. I'm the good luck charm of the league, and I proved it again this week. So,
good luck, Nick. There we go.
There you go.
Quinn, you alluded to the disrespect, and after the 0-3 start, you explained the situation about your draft. Did you feel disrespected? I mean, you've been a punching bag on the show, and I want to give you an opportunity to clap back a little bit at Rogo and I. You asked if we could add a picture for the Hammer and the Nail. You offered to send me a picture, and I responded, Quinn, we haven't needed to use a picture because no one's picked you in the weekly picks. So did you feel disrespected during that 0-3 start? You've been a pretty good player in this league.
I would say only 2 days ago when I watched all three of the week's episodes at once, and I came at it in a fury. I know everyone stays busy, and that's no excuse. I have obviously not been able to watch football in a while. I'm working at the bar here in Nantucket for a couple weeks, and it's been great to watch some football and to at least be on the same time zone as you guys, to follow along with the chatter. A mistake of mine was I don't have anyone's numbers saved because you have to add a 1 before everyone's contact, or it just goes berserk on your phone. What was the question again?
Did you feel disrespected with not only us on the show, but just it's been a foregone conclusion Quinn has the worst team in the league, and now we don't really know. I mean, you could make a run in the South the way that things look.
It blows my mind that everyone thinks that after 3 weeks the season is over. We've seen crazy things happen in this place. So I don't have any disrespect for the showrunners here, but I do have disrespect for maybe the producers. Follow the money, Yost. Follow the money. Where's the money coming from?
There is no money. The only money is time, and if time is money, and it's me and Rogo spending a lot of it.
Show us the spreadsheets. That's what we want to see. We want
to
see the
get to that. Let's get to that because
I
was asking you. You have some grievances with me. You're the first person that we've had. We've had MB. We've had Drew. You're the first person to say, "Hey, Yosef, I don't like how you're commissioning this league. Where are the spreadsheets?" So what's your issue? What's your beef with me?
You've got decision-making at the division level. You've got decision-making in draft rules, changing times. We used to be a proper league here, and I just don't like the way we've gone down the slippery slope. Let's stick to our guns. Let's bring about change. What about the three-way tie? Everyone hates the rules for the three-way tie. What about bringing in a coach? What about bringing in a defensive player on the team? Everyone loves these ideas. What about making it, a last league punishment? We haven't done any of these things. We're a soft league now, and I hate to say it, but you know what? That's why I'm just a proud Nick dad at this point. And, if that's the only trophy I walk away from this season with, it'll be a happy one.
Should these said documents, these spreadsheets, should they be on a SharePoint file for the whole league to have visibility towards? What's your thoughts on that?
Really, I'm glad you asked that question because I just thought of something that is just the perfect solution to that. Actually, we should put them behind a paywall on an OnlyFans account. All the money that's subscribed to that OnlyFans account goes to a bounty for the regular season points winner. So anyone that wants access to the data that Joseph dangles in front of us all, we can pay our fair share and then use it better than he would.
I think the big issue where you want to take this league versus where how other people feel about the league. I think other people are happy with the league. And
I'm very happy with the league. Don't get me wrong. I love this league.
My evidence for that is the fact that ever since we brought in Jacob Bennett, nobody has wanted to leave. Meanwhile, if you were to drop because of your discontent with some of the league policies, I've got a list of 5 to 10 people I could call
words
on the phone
in
right
my
now
mouth over here, bud.
This is
exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Why is the commissioner threatening?
I'm not
threatening.
I'm
threatening innocent members of this league, just humble, hardworking owners of this league. And
if the league is so bad, you don't have to be in. That's
you know what, Joseph? I want to pay my league dues right now. Do you take cash? Will you take my league dues from cash right now, please?
Is that
will you take
money?
this?
The funny thing is that you haven't
legal
paid the
U.S.
league
tender. Will you take
this?
this?
Oh my gosh!
I know.
Thank you so much, Quinn. I appreciate it.
King anymore?
We take Venmo. We take Cash App, buddy.
You can keep that one,
Quinn. I want to ask you the status of the embargo. Right? It's not necessarily something that you put forth. It's more of a Frank thing. You kind of tagged along and co-opted it as well. Where does that stand? Because all of a sudden, you've got a plethora of running backs that could help some running back needy teams. I mean, Tony just lost a running back in Javonte Williams. Sevy lost Cordell Patterson for at least 4 weeks. Would you break the embargo if it helped you get a receiver that's better than Marvin Jones at the wide receiver 2 spot?
The nice thing about embargo is that the people asking questions about the embargo, they're on the outside of it. You know, Joseph, you've earned yourself a firm position on the outside of the embargo. You know, not only have I been living in an embargoed island, but actual island for quite some time now. And, my assets are my assets, and I can only hope that their quarterbacks go down as well, as I'm sitting on a gold mine in a late season edition with an Aaron Rodgers or a Lawrence Taylor.
Lawrence Taylor.
Nice hair.
He's a
nice hair
linebacker.
guy. I'm pretty happy with my team here. If anything, I can make a guarantee this year that I will definitely ruin one of the Cordova's chances of going to the playoffs. That is my promise.
Quinn, so ESPN rankings actually has you with the lowest percentage to make the playoffs, even after this miracle win that you just pulled off this week. How do you feel the South Division shaking out? Who do you have? Which 4 players do you have in the South making the playoffs?
If they've got me lowest rankings here, what are the odds you give me that I make the playoffs? Because I take those odds. I mean, this division is trash. You got to remember, I was born and bred in the North and coming into a soft-ass South Division.
For our next pick, we're going to absolutely take Quinn. It's a tragedy that Quinn made it to that. We're taking Quinn for sure.
Yost didn't want me. He was afraid that I was going to fucking steal his shine up there as the pseudo, like next in line. Honestly, like real dead-ass next in line commissioner of this fucking of this league. I know you want me to say that you're going to make the playoffs, but I just don't think so. I think it's going to be you, me, Kyle at the bottom of this fucking division.
Okay, so you're
for the rest of the year.
You're taking Drew, Blocker, Nahom, and Sevy to be the top 4.
I'd say like probably Sevy will definitely be 4th, but he'll get over and over you because just you're not seeing the bigger picture with this analysis you tossed out last week. Just clearly overlooking your opponent. It's just trash. And like, if we really want to talk about how bad my team is, I don't know how to play this fucking team. I got 3 quarterbacks. I got wild tight ends to set up. I got these running backs I don't know how to fucking play. Everyone is injured on my team. They're loyal to me. But like, if I had started some of the right players in the first couple of weeks, it'd be a different story. I might be sitting at 2-2.
Well, you definitely put the puzzle pieces in correctly last week. That's for sure. I don't know if
barely
if my Buddhism and all the negative things I've said about you in the past 3 episodes have come to fruition and came to haunt me. But my hat's off to you. And like like the likes of Brett Favre, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan. All those guys retired and they came back. So I haven't officially announced my retirement from the league yet, but when I do, I'm coming right back, baby. I'm coming right back.
All right, well, your first opportunity for a comeback, Nick, is in Week 5, and coming up after this, we'll have our Week 5 picks with our guest host, Quinn Bonta. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
I'm Yosef Nasser, and I'm a brother.
I'm Nick Rogowski, and I am a brother.
My name's Drew Bouchard, and I'm a brother.
A brother against drunk drafting.
15% of drafters every year show up drunk. 100% of them leave disappointed.
I myself used to be a drunk drafter, and I was saved.
With one small payment of $19.95 and a running back that I can play in the flex, you can become a brother today and make sure that nobody ever has a draft go to waste. Drunk drafting is an illness, one that I'm determined to cure. Call the number on your screen and become a brother today.
All right, it's time. It's time for our weekly picks with our guest, Quinn. And obviously, Quinn, you're the second guest to be able to pick with us. Drew went 5-2 last week. 5 is the score you need to beat. Nick, I had a struggle last week. I was 2-5. You were 5-2 on the season. I'm 12-9. You're 11-10. So it's neck and neck. Let's get to the matchup. First matchup, Quinn coming off of the big win against Nick. Now you're facing your old North rival in Raymond. Quinn, who are you going with this? Raymond, a tough opponent. You and him. What's your sense? Can you win 2 in a row?
I got a lot of respect for Raymond's team. I like his style. I love the strategy he usually implements, but he's giving me insights here. He's tilting his hand. I like myself to go 2-0. Got to go with the Quinnity one last time.
I think Quinn. I think your magic peaked. I think I'm going Ramon here.
And listen, Quinn, you're QB1 in our lives, but Lamar Jackson is QB1 in fantasy football. I think that him playing Cincinnati, it's too tough for you to overcome. I just feel like Raymond is the answer here. Quinn falls to 1-4. Me, coming off of a tough loss against your buddy Frank there, Quinn. I'm playing Brian this week. Brian, he's been dealing with the injuries. Who knows who he's going to start at the receiver position? He's had Amon-Ra in and out of the lineup, Michael Thomas in and out of the lineup. I think I'm going to get a win here and put Brian down to 2-3, but what say you guys?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I think you got this one in the bag. Sorry, Brian.
Yeah, I think I'm going Big Yos here. Yos, I think I might have picked against you last week, maybe.
Yep, you picked Frank.
But other than that, I've been pro commish, and with Ryan Tannehill and Cam Akers, it's just and Brian's playing a guy with the last name Dortch. I just don't see him pulling a W. So I'm going Big Yos here.
Next matchup, Rogo, 3-game losing streak. You lose to Quinn. You face Sevi. This is a loser leaves town match potentially. Both of you guys at 1-3 and a tight-knit South Division. I have a pick here, but I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this matchup, Quinn.
I'd love to see Nick win this one. I gotta just give it to my guy. I think he's gonna bounce back after he's not gonna leave town. Nick's not the kind of guy that leaves town. It's his town. So that's all that needs to be said.
Following up on that, Sevi just lost Cordell Patterson. I see Kenny Gainwell at the RB2 slot. I just feel like Rogo's back. He's been struggling a little bit finding those pieces to surround Mahomes, Kelsey, and Mixon. But I just feel like as dangerous as Sevi's receivers are, I really like Nick's team for this week. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey against Las Vegas. Those guys combined for 50 or 60. Give me Nick Rogowski in this matchup.
Yeah, I think at some point this rainstorm has to go away, and obviously this is a huge game between me and Sevi. It's going to put a decent little separation between us, and everybody wants to win. I think I'm gonna pick me, not just because I want to pick me, but because I think I'm gonna put the second Cordova down.
From the bottom of the South to the top of the South, it's our game of the week. Dr. Drew versus Blocker. Both teams at 4-0. This is a heavyweight matchup right here. Guys, who do you have in this one?
Nick, I'll concede to you. You go first. This one's tough.
Yeah,
this is going to be the expert.
This is going to be a real barn burner. Obviously, Drew had fucking Toa go down with the Toa hands last week. The brain injury. Who knows if we'll ever see him back to full capacity, or if he can pass an SAT test. It's very intriguing. I don't know that Derek Carr is going to do much, especially against the Chiefs. Derrick Henry was an absolute animal last week after I thrashed him for the first 3 weeks. Hawkinson, obviously with the injuries in Detroit, he's an absolute weapon. He proved it with Jared Goff last week. I'm not going to go against Drew because he's got a PhD in fantasy football. So, I think I'm going to give the slight edge to Drew, even though it's a question mark there at the QB spot. But on the other end of it, Block says Tyreek Hill. Who knows what he's going to do with a backup quarterback in Miami. And Justin Herbert's been a stud, but he's got that rib thing going, and the Chargers are kind of, I think I'm going Drew.
Two things to watch for me, guys. I'm curious to see Derek Carr and Davante Adams on opposite teams in this matchup. They're playing Kansas City on Monday night. Can Drew get a big enough lead to dodge the Davante Adams spike, and vice versa? It's going to be super interesting. I'm going to give it to Drew because I think that Philly-Arizona matchup is going to be big. It's going to be a high-scoring matchup. Eagles getting up ahead early, and then in garbage time, I could see Marquise Brown putting up 20, 25, plus the running backs are phenomenal. Detroit's offense has been humming, as you know, Rogo. Jared Goff, Hawkinson, Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift expected to be out another week. Blocker's got a good team, but I think I'm going to go with Drew in this one.
All right, I've thought about it. I'm hoping for a tie, both in my division. It's going to help. One is going to hurt the other. I don't really care.
There you go.
Tie it is. That's what we want. I'm thinking tie. I'll set it at, if anyone wants to take gentleman's bet, $1 at tie total points 147.
Wow.
Over under.
The first tie in the history of the weekly picks, and I love it. That's going to be fun.
That.
In the South, Kyle coming off of his first one of the season. Nahom facing Nahom. This is a consequential matchup in the South as well, as people start to separate themselves. I think I'm going Nahom here. He's got the best running back in fantasy football. He's got the best receiver in fantasy football. Kyle has a bunch of wide receiver 3s and 4s. The big key for him, can McCaffrey and Kamara be those RB1s that he's looking for? I'm going to give it another week. I'm going to go with MB in this one.
Yeah, Kyle's team is ass. Got to stick with Rockledge Elementary there. Nahom for sure.
I think Kyle's team's definitely taking the place of worst team in the league, but McCaffrey did have a nice little bounce back weekend last week, but I don't think it's going to be enough to pole vault him over MB, even though it would be nice to see Kyle beat MB and I take a W, and that moves me up the ladder in the South, but I hate to say it, I think MB is going to take this one.
Few more matchups to get to. We've got your good friend Frank playing Driscoll. Frank coming off a big win against me. He is at the top of the North. Can he bridge that gap? Can he increase that lead, rather? Can he increase that lead in the North against Driscoll? I say he can. I say he gets a big win here.
Yeah, I think that's an easy one. We haven't quite hit the depths of the bye week scourges yet. Frank's not the type of guy like Nick who's going to look past the week ahead of him. He's going to really just, focus on the enemy he has, which is G.I. Driscoll. Come on, no bother. He's tied with us, but he's down there with Kyle as well. So, if we're just piling on both of them. But I do just want to point out, as bad as we're ripping on both of them, they've both outscored Tony.
I think the whole league is almost outscored Tony. I'm going Frank here. I think ever since Frank played me. Again, I'm the good luck charm. I'm good luck Chuck. He put up 188 and he hasn't looked back. So I'm going Frank.
Our final matchup. You mentioned him, Tony Cordova, trying to stay afloat in a tough North Division, a team that should be 0-4 if you give Brian a reasonable quarterback game instead of the 0 he got from Ryan Tannehill in week 2 against Bennett. Bennett's team is 2-2, but it's performing better than a 2-2 team. Who do you guys have in this matchup? Can Tony patch up that loss of Javonte Williams, get a good RB2 in there, and get a much-needed win against Bennett in the North?
I'm gonna shock the world here. I'm gonna say Tony's got this one. Wow. almost 30 points down on projected totals. I think he's, Matt Stafford, is he elite? I think on Tony's team, yes. And if whenever given a chance to choose Tony, I will always double down as my number 1 pick. I always pick Tony. But I also just think giving him a little bit of hope this week is something that might be nice to be a little bone to toss his way. So good luck against Bennett there, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, even though Tony's got, Williams went down in the IR. He's got McKinnon, which I don't think he's going to play, but he could play him in the flex maybe if Godwin can't play.
He's going to play Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, he's going to play Jeff Wilson Jr. for sure in the RB2 slot, but he's got a little wiggle room, and if Godwin can come back and play in the flex for him, then he might be a sneaky little upset candidate. So I think Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback. He's been good all season. Shout out to the Eagles, fly Eagles fly. But he's playing against Jalen Waddle. It's just Kyle Pitts. You don't know what you're going to get out of those two guys, especially with those quarterbacks on those two teams. For Big Bennett, I think I'm going to go with Quinn here. I think Team Tico might sneak out a little win here, a little upset.
Listen, I've picked Team Tico every game except for the game that he played against me. I'm picking against him this week. I just think Chris Olave has been too good. Jalen Hurts is going to be pushed for 25, 30. I think the running backs are solid. The worst secondary in the league belongs to the Baltimore Ravens. 32nd against fantasy wide receivers. We're going to see a big Jamar Chase blow-up game. And I think that Jalen Waddle can get to 15 to 20 as well. I'm going to go with Bennett here.
Can we get some Chase Claypool love, please?
Hey, I asked Tony if he wanted Claypool, and I haven't gotten a response yet. So I might have to make him a trade he can't refuse.
So hold on.
The embargo.
Is Nick a part of the embargo?
Yes. Why would I ever trade with Tony?
You traded with Tony multiple times.
Refer to the spreadsheet, please.
Yos, actually, that's a question I have for you. Can you pull up the trade that me and Tony made where I got Freeman?
It was the Devontae Freeman trade, yeah. And you got Devontae Freeman, and I think it was Vincent Jackson for Jeremy Hill and Allen Robinson.
Jeremy Hill.
That was the year that Devontae Freeman was the RB1, his breakout year in 2015. Tony was selling high after he had ripped up the league for the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, and he thought he was pulling a fast one, getting an RB1 in Jeremy Hill, but that blew up in his face that year. That's it for the show. Quinn, thanks so much for taking the time. Rogo, thank you as always. We'll be back next week with another great guest. Have a great week 5, everyone.
Quinn Grin. Thanks, Mike.
Ciao, ciao.